get him. I tried to get him. I get him. I was thinking, well, the students in jail. No, I ended up getting 200. That's what I don't know. It was more than so much to get.
That's so strange.
Because what happened was, she got overjoyed by it. And then the boyfriend's mom, and I couldn't bet again. So then, like, it makes no sense. And so, then what is but the couch, was I supposed to say a couch? No, because you guys all know. Yeah, we're asking the couch, but the couch has been for the last 3 years? Because apparently she's going to enter back into I mean, the couch was a young loved it, but...
Oh, and yours is so much better.
What do you think? Serena loved it. $5,000. Whatever.
Excuse me. Give another machine. Oh, that's okay, but I'm giving you this half.
Okay, so I'll put it
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Deb's going to take a picture? Yeah. They're always
Sorry. Because she needs to bring it away. Print. There, we need your print.
So we can post. That's retired.
Oh, no, all on it. Yeah, all on the card.
Debs, you want to have a job?
No, but I can't do it though, because I need
Okay, you guys ready? We've been ready.
because I don't have a
Sorry.
We need you, Deb.
Alrighty. I was kind of inspired.
Okay, we're going to begin an open discussion / interview with our guests, hosted by Vikram Karahoot from the Vancouver Consulate of the Atheist Republic. We'll be interviewing comedians Hassam and Goldie Hoffman. Thank you very much.
Hello. Thank you, Randall. So I'll begin by asking a few questions to Al, because I know you need to leave soon. So the first one would be your religious history. So when I was introduced to you, David Granura, so he told me that you're an agnostic Muslim. What the hell is that?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I don't know. I kind of leave the religion at times. I was like, no, so I was like,
Can't hear.
you can't hear me? That better?
That's
Oh,
That's better.
Yeah, so I've always been kind of like very skeptical about religion. And when I was growing up at Prince George, we were the only Muslim family in Prince George. And then when I moved to Vancouver, we learned there's like different types of Muslims who don't always treat each other right. And I'm like, it just didn't make sense to me. And then other religions don't get on with the religions. So to me, it was more like, what the hell's going on? Every religion promises the same thing about you be good, you can go to heaven, yet we treat it all crap. And so to me, I started questioning it. But I've also seen that in some ways religion does help people along and it gives them some sort of hope. So I don't want to completely shut it off. So that's what I have.
I'm just curious about it. Like, what would you need to see to call yourself an atheist?
What would I need to see? I don't know if I could ever call myself an atheist because I don't.
Scared of the word.
I'm scared. Yeah, I'm scared of the word. Actually, I don't. Yeah. I think it's always good to be questioning everything, right? I mean, that's how I feel.
No, the reason can I interrupt?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
we just were having that debate off the side, and he asked me about that. And I actually debate that agnosticism is actually the true atheism. It just sounds easier and more palatable to a lot of people, but it is the same. A real atheism is we're saying, I don't have the evidence, so I'm not going to believe in the lack of something. If one day you were to prove me wrong, which I do not believe will happen, I would be open to it. And that is agnosticism, the lack of knowledge. But it just sounds nicer. I remember the scariness, and even I waver sometimes of like, I'm telling you, the atheism word is so scary, like without God, but it's the same thing. People were saying, I don't remember if it was Hitchens or Dawkins, but like one of them said, like, I'm a 99.999 sure. And they're like, oh, that's agnostic. No, that's what atheism is. That if you were to show me otherwise, but it doesn't make sense for me to believe in something that there's an absence of evidence on. So I actually think we're all atheists are agnostics.
Can you hear me? So my next question is, I need to leave soon.
Someone has a question.
Oh, sorry.
I've been considering the fact, as an atheist, that there's a difference between religion and culture. For example, our family was Christian. We still celebrate Christmas. We put up a tree, we drink together, we eat together, we have a lot of great food. Nobody mentions anything religious. And it's a cultural thing.
Right.
And in India, people that have no longer any belief, they still celebrate and throw colored paint at each other. You know, and that, oh, sorry. So that kind of thing, I think we should, in the future, we can differentiate between being religious and being cultural.
Right.
There's no reason not to celebrate certain holidays with your family and enjoy them. They're fun. They're that sense of community you were saying.
Right.
But we don't have to be religious or believe
No,
in some
yeah.
crazy flying horse because of it, you know?
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, because I got to text my nephew earlier today saying, where's my Advent calendar, right? So,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly, yeah.
True story, right? So it's like, yeah. No, it's all good. As long as, I think that as long as there's respect and you're, I don't know, I have friends from every different religious background and varying degrees of beliefs, I guess, but as long as you're not, I don't know, like we have good discussions, you're not pushing your views on me, I'm not really pushing my views on you, have an open discussion, keep it open mind, then it's good, right?
So the last question I have for you is that when I looked you up at first, you had a bunch of events on the topic of mental health awareness. So what is your involvement in that, and do you have any future projects on it?
So yeah, so I suffer from anxiety and some kind of depression, and I actually didn't do any of those jokes tonight, but I got involved with this organization called Standing for Mental Health. So the other comic that was supposed to be here tonight, David Grenier, founded it, and it's a great program because what it does is it takes people that have mental health issues, and they come in and they talk about their mental health issues, and then they write jokes about their mental health issues, and they perform all over. And it's a way of breaking down the stigma that people with mental health issues, and mental health issues has no boundaries. It doesn't matter what religion you are, what nationality you are, what ethnicity you are, everybody has mental health, or could potentially have mental health issues. So it's a great way to break down stigma. And I got involved with the program about 2009, 2010. And I started being a mentor within the program for some of the comics. And now we're coming up to our 15-year anniversary next week. And so there's a big 2-night showcase at Yuck Yucks. And so they're going to bring out all the comics that are in the alumni that are available for those 2 nights to come out and do their spots. And it's a great cause. It's just, it shows what people can do regardless of whatever they or other people might think can hold them back, they can still do it. So I think for me, it's a great cause. Not only because I suffer with anxiety, but just to see what people can do when there's no limitations put on them from society or whoever, right? So,
Great, thank you. I knew you had to.
yeah, I have a family dinner to go to, so that's it. Thank you for coming out, guys. I'll see you soon.
Hassam, everyone.
Sure. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
So,
You're still here. Woo!
so Goldie,
Yes.
when one of our mutual friends called Pat O'Brien
Yes.
introduced you to me, and I looked you up at first, and I was a bit confused, to be honest. Like, so I looked up on your YouTube channel, and you have some of the typical stand-up comedy stuff, like, setup and punchlines. But you also do a different type of comedy, which is that you seem to take a lot of these eccentric characters and you act through them. So my question would be, how would you describe your style of comedy?
Oh, wow. I don't know. It's very frenetic. I mean, I guess you've seen that. Animated is another term, but I know what he's referring to. I also do, in addition to doing stand-up, I also do sketch characters. So I have these characters that I embody. And I guess people are like, where do you get them from? Me, my life, people I know. Now some people are like, I don't want to be friends with her. She's going to make me into a character. I don't know. I think you're right. I think my style is all over the place. That could be part of the problem. I need focus. There's no focus.
Yeah, one thing I was wondering when you were doing your jokes earlier, you were mentioning members of your family, but I know a lot of them were here tonight. So is it awkward afterwards?
No, that's actually a benefit, speaking of culture, of the Jewish culture, and that's why it's interesting. I don't believe in the Jewish religion, but I cannot deny that I am Jewish culturally. It's how I sound, it's how I talk, it's how I think. What is a culture? Food, language, music, and I think part of the problem, especially with Jews, is that the Jewish people are so old, similar to Chinese or Greeks, that we predate these terms. Religion, nation, race, ethnicity. So we're all of that. And I know that over time they've tried to make different words, which didn't stick, like for the Jewish culture, Heb, like Hebrew. It never pulled off. It was a magazine, but to say it's a shame that it's the same word, that I'm Jewish, and people are like, but religion? No, I don't believe in religion. But I also study history, and I can't deny that I come from these people, and the way I talk, and the way it would be a denial, it would be ahistorical to say I'm not, and the way I think and talk. And one of the things that I love about the Jewish culture, and I think it's a reason they survive. The religious will always say, see, all the others were wiped out, we're here, so God is really there. But I think it's actually that, humor is one of the things that keeps us alive, and it's shared with other cultures who have faced a lot. Like the black culture, I find, is just naturally humorous. They're just funny, and British people too. I don't know, they're miserable. But Jewish people, you're raised in it. We're not raised like it's terrible. We have no self-esteem. We're all your joy in you come home when your mother's like, guess what this sibling did? It's terrible. So we can joke about each other. That doesn't mean there isn't rivalry. Meanwhile, they'll be going back, I can't believe she said that. But there's a laughter in that, and there's an acknowledgement. It's not rude. I always say in the Jewish culture, it's never inappropriate to make a joke. And that's kind of a really cool thing that I've come to accept, because there's a point where I was self-hating or whatever. I'm like, I hate these people. But now I like those aspects. And I'll give you just one story, an example. When my stepmother died in California, she was this hippie woman. She was with my father, who was Hasidic, weird couple. He still stayed in it. She didn't. They're very strange, and he's there with his beard. And his mother-in-law, my stepmother's mother, she's not religious at all, and had her separate non-kosher food. And anyway, we had hospice care, and we're wheeling her out, my stepmom, and then my father's there with his yarmulke, and he says to the paramedic, I bet you've never been to a house like this before. Never seen a family, and he said, no, we had a laugh, and I literally look back and go, wow, even in that moment. And that's a cool thing. So I don't know what the style is, but yeah, I'd have to say some of my style is Jewish, and I can't deny that.
When I looked you up at first, I thought you looked really familiar, So I obviously did what everyone does and found you.
I look like people who were successful, yeah. I'll tell you who they are. Katy Perry, Zooey Deschanel, the girl who played Matilda, Lizzie Kaplan.
That's what I thought. But then it turns out you've been on my favorite TV show, Lucifer. So my question would be, how was it working next to Lucifer Morningstar?
Well, actually, I don't know if I met those good names. This is a Vancouver role, and sadly, I'm shocked by that they didn't cut much. So most of the Vancouver roles, sadly, we shoot a lot here. The crew gets a lot of work, the actors don't. You're not the well, you're also the extras, but you're the smaller roles, the walk-on roles, the thing to satisfy the permit requirements. So, I mean, you can make a career to that. Some get supporting and bigger, but sadly they tend to fly those out. So I was literally just on that show, just there one day, and it's the most ridiculous role that is so not me. I did an audition once for Bomb Squad Tech, and then we get this message like a week later, forgot about it. Like, you've been booked. And I was no, not even for Bomb Squad Tech. As one of the forensic cops. I'm like, me? I'm like, okay, I gotta rein in the Jew. Speaking of which, I could do that. So then if you watch just one scene, and I had to wear my own pants, and the thing was ridiculously oversized, they warmed her up, I'm like, ooh, detectives, I found something in the master bedroom. And the fingernail matches that of the victim. Ta-da! Nothing comedic. Other than the stuff that I say while I'm talking to myself, I'm like, oh God, is the audio still on? Anyway, it was fun.
So earlier you were talking to us about, I guess, the Jewish influence into your comedy. Were there any comedians that you looked up to that you tried to kind of imitate in any way, or are you just a product of Jewish ancestry?
Well, I refuse to take the ancestry test, as we've established. But I think that it's both. I mean, I was raised, I always say this, and I'm repeating someone who I don't even know, but like, the funniest people, I think it was actually in the great doc you should all watch, When Jews Were Funny. I don't know if some of you saw that. Because the host's terrible, he made the film, and he I don't know how, but he got great footage, but everyone's so annoyed with him, but you'll stomach him to deal with the amazing stuff. And he basically makes the argument that we used to be funny, and we're not, because Jews over the last 100 years have done well, and comedy is bred from misery and poverty, and that would, guess it would work without my background, I mean, so I'm more of like a throwback, but he's something, I don't know which person in the doc said it, but one of the comics said, the funniest person in the family is not the comedian. It was the crazy uncle, and we had that. It's your mother, it's, a sibling who didn't go into comedy. It really, you're not even the funny, you can distill it. But I don't know that you're bred in it. You're like marinated in comedy. You're all that. Like, it always shocks me that comedians they have writers and they're making up stories. I'm like, you don't have stories? Like, I have to water them down. There is more. Like, this is, I can't even get into the stuff. Like, just to give you, my mother is now like a Jew for Jesus. But not that one. They weren't into Jesus enough. I'm not even making this up. They have sex. And my father's in Vegas, but he's Hasidic. I mean, I can't. I don't even go into it because it's too much. But comedians that I liked, yes, they were Jewish. Joan Rivers. We also grew up watching a lot of like Jackie Gleason. Do you remember? Like my sister.
Jackie Mason.
Oh, Jackie Mason. Sorry, it's so embarrassing. That too. But yeah, and just like so, like I don't even know. Teachers were funny. I would say my Israeli teachers, crazy. Insane. I was in a school in Montreal, you had Hebrew classes and French and English, and they hated each other. We had a test board, we were only allowed 3 per week because they decided it was too stressful, even for Jewish kids. So they would run to the board, and the French people hated the Israelis, and they were just crazy. They had no self-esteem, make fun of you. Oh, you think you're funny, just like in the class. They would let you laugh and go, okay, enough, now back to the lesson. I don't know if that answers it.
let's assume it does. Yeah. So, I was wondering when you were saying jokes about like your family and all that stuff. Are these stories real, or did you make them up?
No, that's what I'm saying. They're very real. I have to leave things out. It's too much. I once told a story that was related on one of my exes, and someone yelled out at me. He was in Vancouver, of course. That's the only place where this. That's not true. You're making it up. I'm like, I'm not at all. But that shows you your bias, that you would think that. I'm like, it shocks me. And I know that you're loud, it's comedy, you're a writer at the end of the day. I have fudged dates or moved things around. But maybe that's because I'm one of you guys, like history and accuracy and ethics are important. So you can't change too much. And if you're, to me, and maybe I'm a purist, but if you're going to stand up there and be a comedian and say, I am Goldie Hoffman and this is me, I feel like you should be honest. That's the difference. You're not playing a character. If you're doing stand-up, I'm always depressed to find out, oh, that didn't even happen. And I tend to not like those jokes as a skeptic that go, and then I told her to fuck off. Where you know it didn't happen. It doesn't I can't go there with you, because I'm always like, but you didn't do that. But some people I can't do the suspending your disbelief on it. But that's just me. So yes, they're all sadly true. All the stories.
I pity your family, really.
What about me?
You turned out fine, you know.
That's what you think. To quote my own boyfriend, partner of several years, she makes a great first impression.
I wish you good luck. So, you were talking about your Jewish, history. So, what led you from Judaism to atheism?
Yeah, that's a long ride. I'll try to be concise. We don't have that skill. You've never seen that. It's so sad to say, but it started actually with the divorce. Because I really, as a Hasidic child, it's a different brand of Judaism. It's a cult. I mean, they don't like the word cult. There's a sect. It makes a difference. It's kind of like the agnostic and atheist thing. We're a sect. We're not a cult. And they're very upset. Apparently, NYPD classified them as a cult. And I got upset. Anyway, my parents divorced, and I really was a good girl. I was very smart. I was very good. I was devout, and I believed so hard in Hashem, in God, and in Mashiach, the Messiah, and it was so gut-wrenching. I said, if there is a Mashiach, oh God, He will fix this now. And it really didn't happen. And it was the beginning. It was 9 and 10, and it was that if I look back now, that was the turn of it, that this couldn't be legit. I also had a lot of problems, from a young age, also believing, we dive and pray really hard, but so does the enemy, as they say. Hamas also feels God. So one of you can't both be right. It's very easy to say, even as Al said, well, all religion, you hear this a lot, they all teach the basics, you love your neighbor, but they don't. They also say, and this person should die. Gays should go to hell. So which one is it? Because there's no compromise between the poles. So it's easy to do the universalists, we all feel the same thing, until you get into it. Because it isn't. So somebody's got to be right, and then you go through that thinking, and they're all wrong. That's what we made. It's so human. You start to read these books, and that's why they don't want you to read other religion. Taking Islam and Christian theology, and you're like, oh, I see it. Muhammad's having a revelation. He's thinking something. And it's so human. God, when you look at it, it's like this Bronze Age egomaniac king, You should bow down to me 3 times. God wouldn't care about that. You must cover the hair. What? God cares. You didn't say this blessing on that food. How dare you add that? I don't know if that's kosher. Isn't it so human? At a certain point, you're and people go, oh, well, what if you're wrong? Me and Al were actually discussing. I said, it doesn't even scare me because of that 0.99. Let's say I die and you're you were wrong. There is a God. Here I am. Great. God would be so above this pettiness. God wouldn't care. Goldie, I was really insulted that you never believed in me. you did shows, you said I didn't exist. It was very insulting. Like God would not care. God would be like, I get it. It was very hard to believe. You were good. You tried to do good things. I'm a humanist, and that's what I was talking about earlier. That's why I don't like libertarianism. It's too cold for me. I understand them philosophically, but we have to make the world kinder, and that's where I go. But not because we're going to get a reward, but just because we have ethics. We've evolved. Anyway, that's the answer.
I have a question.
I have a quick question. Have you seen the Netflix documentary about us?
Yes.
What was that? I didn't hear that. What was
Have
that?
you seen the Netflix documentary One of Us, and how did that feel watching it, and just in general your feelings on that?
Well, I actually know the Hasidic one. We did a theater thing, an ex-Hasidic theater thing in New York. I'm friends with him in LA, Loser, Tversky. And we did a short little film. Oh yeah, all right. We were all in a little film that was just in the NBC. It's called Child.
I ended up watching it on an airplane while going to New York.
Oh, wow.
That was a terrible idea.
Yeah, I was lucky, and I even knew that as a kid because he was at what most people think. I was in a less extreme. There's so many levels. Welcome to Jewish people. Well, we don't agree with this. We don't agree. All the semantics that his group. And even when I was a kid, I was like, oh, at least I'm not them. They had it really bad. Like if you saw my group in Crown Heights, you'd be like, whoa, that's so crazy religious. But I promise, like at least we just had to cover the knees and cover the elbows.
Did you get to go to regular school?
You know, no, I went to Hasidic school, but all girls school. But we had English studies half the day, which the boys don't have because we're just girls, and someone's got to read the ingredients from the grocery shop. So the irony is, I got an okay education. I actually relate to a lot of older school, like Catholic people, and they talk about the nuns, and I'm like, oh, we had to get up. It was very 1950s. The teacher walked in, the principal, you had to stand up to show respect and sit down. It's very like old school. But honestly, I was lucky that way. And I was lucky because we left when I was 10. So I always joke with them, I don't even have the cool ex-Hasidic experience. She left, and she packed up. I'm like, I'm an outsider even for them. You know, and then we moved to Montreal, we're American Jewish kids in a French city. I'm always the consummate outsider. So yeah, just I don't know where we moved that. There you go.
How did your family take it that when you said that you don't believe in this stuff anymore?
It was gradual. My mother left to go to Montreal when they divorced. She didn't realize she was also leaving the movement. Unfortunately, we had very bad luck, and my great uncle, the duplex that we had available to us, the lower duplex, was in the Hasidic area. It hadn't been before. So our neighbors, of course, because nothing is a coincidence, everything's divine providence, hashgacha pratis. Our souls were next door. We had to constantly, the Zalmanas, right?
Oh, yeah.
Shabbos meals, holidays. I'm like running out on Friday night to go to clubbing. It's Montreal. I'm feeling good. They're glaring at me with my skirt. Why do I feel guilty? I'm not in you anymore. I don't care. Glaring at me. But anyway, it was gradual. I was watching a lot of big things too. Kitchens, Dawkins, Sam Harris videos. Kind of push you over the edge to atheism. Because first I was not religious, but believed sort of in God. I wasn't ready to let go of God. And then I'd like to think I influenced some of the siblings. And they sort of handle it. We all did our own thing. At least it was sort of accepted. I'm telling you, the Arab thing was the bigger deal.
So you just mentioned Sam Harris, and I saw a video like maybe data from a few years ago, where someone who looked like you was imitating him. Have you seen that video?
Yeah, well, I was imitating Ben Affleck.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I made him. I make my partners. We did a sketch about Islamophobia called Scientolophobia. Verbatim, use the words. I wrote this, like, change only where he said Islamophobia. I changed to Scientolophobia when Ben Affleck was on the Bill Maher show and they were arguing. And so it got really popular in the skeptic scene, and people were harassing Sam Harris on Twitter. Why won't you retweet it? Yes, why won't you? But I think he didn't want to instigate like, he definitely saw it. But yeah, he could, it's great that you retweet people who are already established. Can you hit some to the lower? That's how we gotta do more to support the art. It's great. You love Joe Rogan. He's known. He doesn't need the publicity.
When I look at that video, when I try to understand why maybe people got outraged at it,
Yeah.
from a humanist perspective, it makes sense that people who don't really understand what Sam was saying,
Yeah.
they could think that he said that Muslims are bad people, right?
Well, that's what they were. Ben Affleck was echoing what so many people still don't understand about the criticism of religion and in particular Islam. And so that's what I wanted to illustrate. That if you just change the words, you love to bash Scientology, you'll see, because he kept saying that that's racist, and Sam Harris kept saying, no, you're not listening to what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about criticizing the religion. And he wouldn't grasp it, so that maybe if we switch it to something the public loves to bash, you can see it's the same. Anyway, but that is still the public side. We're entering a zone too. Generally, you can't talk about it, as we know, especially with Islam. Another reason I've been thankful to come from the Jewish culture, at least you don't fear your life by criticizing the religion. So, I guess I'm giving that as a compliment to the people. It's sad that that's a benchmark, but here we are.
So you call yourself a humanist, but I would how would you define your humanism?
Humanism is, first of all, recognizing we're all humans, and doing, I think we have to connect, and I don't like so much identity politics. Everyone's into their own label, and I think the label is useful. Like, let's say you're a gay person, or I didn't talk about this, but a Jew experienced a lot of sexism, Hasidic, whatever brings you to the injustice. But then you got to get out of that and be like, oh, it's just like this. And it's just like, oh my God, like the sexism is kind of like racism, which is kind of like this, which is kind of, and it should bring, and with gay rights, and you should be able to see that, but sadly we're in the thing where people are only in their label, and they're supposed to use that as a jumping point, at least I think. So I think that you should all do, good works, leave the world in a better place than you found it, is a principle, it's even a Jewish word, tikkun olam, fixing the world. Or the campsite rule, leave the place better than you found it. But do something. Volunteer work is very important for me. Be that thing, just bring something good into the world, because it is shit. I think that's optimism.
So my last question to you would be what are your future, goals? Are you acting-wise or comedy-wise? Do you have any shows coming up?
Yeah, my goal is to get really great management. So anyone here, I would love to do bigger shows, more TV, all of that, have my own show. I have too many ideas. I want to do sketches. I want to, have my own talk show, hopefully, and which I should just do. So I might be doing that soon. Go from there. I'm always excited to do whatever projects come my way. So if you have any.
So I'd like to thank everyone who came today. If you have any questions, we can take one more question before we end.
Debs, you don't have a question. It's my sister.
You can have a question.
Hi, Goldie. Happy birthday.
Oh, okay. It is my birthday. It is amazing, but I am 25 again. I don't know how that. Don't understand it.
So, as an atheist, I work with people who are believers, and how do you?
You could ask me this on the phone.
Yeah. How do you show religious tolerance without being rude? As an atheist, it's hard for me when they get into religious conversation.
Sorry, I converted her.
To stop it, how do you end a religious conversation without being rude and inconsiderate?
I don't know. I don't actually. That is the thing, because he mentioned about being respectful, and I cringe when I hear that word, because I never find it's reciprocal. It's always well, you need to be respectful of mine, but not. I can't respect your atheism.
Exactly.
That's my problem. I don't know how we do it, because I could be as kind as I am, like, oh, that's great, or whatever. But then you're being disrespectful, because you're not coddling or saying, oh, you can't even just nicely be like, that's cool, I don't believe in that. Like, you can't even do that, because that is a problem.
Especially in a professional setting.
Oh, yeah, no, well, I'm not in a professional setting, so I don't think they would accept me.
So I'd like to thank everyone who came today. We're still experimenting with our events, so if you'd like to see more of it, we would please ask if you could donate to us just to help out. And I'd like to thank Goldie and
Thank Vikram, Marsha, and all of you for coming.
I'd also like to thank Masha for helping us set everything. And we'll be hanging out around if you guys want, we can talk a bit more.
And jazz music's coming up next.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vikram, for organizing all of this, and thank you very much, Goldie, for coming here and presenting tonight. Okay, this was a presentation with the Canadian Atheists and the Atheist Republic Vancouver Consulate, and we appreciate you listening and watching this video tonight. If you want to find out more about our future events, you can go to www.canadianatheists.ca/events. Thank you very much. Good night.
You can't read for me because they need it self.
If you went to a meeting and they said, oh,
Clean up at all? I'm not. Okay. Sure. Yeah. So you have, I'm going to be sticking around for a
It's very hard. I think they have to go hard. That's also why. Oh, exactly.